Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Game Development Log video diary, and this week I'm going to be introducing my new project, Equilinox. So what you're seeing now is a very early version of Equilinox, and at this stage it's really more of a demonstration of the engine rather than any sort of prototype for the game. So far I've only spent a couple of weeks working on it, so there's no gameplay or anything like that yet, but there are a few nice engine features that I thought I could show you this week. Obviously, the first thing that you'll notice about the game is that it uses a low poly art style, and the main reason for this is that models and textures were really what I struggled most with when I was working on Soccer One. So this time I thought I'd make it a bit easier for myself by having a really minimalistic art style and just letting the shader effects and the lighting do most of the work. I haven't actually added many shader effects just yet, but that's what I'm going to be concentrating on next week. So Equilinox is a small sandbox-like game where you start off with a completely barren and empty randomly generated world like this, and you can transform it into a diverse, dynamic, evolving ecosystem of plants and animals, kind of like this but with a much larger variety of creatures and trees. Everything that you place in the world has a different effect on the ecosystem, so for example, sheep would go around eating the grass, bees would perhaps increase the fruit production of trees and bushes, and wildcats might decrease the population of nearby smaller animals. The idea is to keep the ecosystems and the populations in an equilibrium so that you can keep spreading the wildlife all over the world. You'll also notice that different plants cause the spread of different biomes, so when I place these mushrooms for example, it causes the spread of the purple swampy biome. Some wildlife might actually require a certain biome to survive, while others may just behave differently when in different biomes. Everything also has its own life cycle, so plants will grow and die, trees will produce fruit, animals will breed together and create new animals, and so on. Each individual animal and plant will also have its own traits and behaviours, such as colour, speed, life length or productivity, and these traits will be passed on to the plant or animal's offspring when they reproduce, so you could actually selectively breed trees to produce more fruit, or selectively breed a rare colour of a certain animal, and you can also unlock new species of plants and animals by breeding together different species. I'll be able to show you more of the gameplay over the next few weeks, but for now I'm just going to show you a couple of the features that I've been working on in the engine. Firstly, I implemented random terrain generation for the first time, and to do this I used a very nice and pretty simple algorithm called Perlin Noise. It wasn't too tricky to implement, and I'll put a link to this tutorial that I used in the description, but what it allows me to do is to randomly generate some natural looking terrain formations. I can also change the parameters of the algorithm to decide how hilly or how flat the terrain is, and I can easily choose how smooth or how rough the land is. Another feature that I added to the engine was the ability for the terrain to gradually change colour around areas where plants have been placed. When an object is added to the world, it affects the terrain vertices within a certain range around it, and the amount that it affects the terrain can also vary from plant to plant. When an object is placed on the terrain, it first finds all of the vertices within range of the object, and it then iterates through these vertices, calculating the new target colour for each vertex based on the biome, the strength of the biome, and the vertex's distance from the new plant. This new colour only has to be calculated once when the object is placed, and after that, the actual colour of each vertex is found by interpolating between the old colour and the new colour over time. So that's all that I've got to show you with Equilinox this week, but as I mentioned in the previous video, I have now set up a Patreon page where you can support the continuation of the tutorials and the devlogs if you want to. There's a link to the Patreon page in the description, so you can go and check that out, and if you become a patron you can actually receive monthly releases of Equilinox, and you can even get open source versions of the game, so you could have a look to see how I'm implementing everything. For this week though, that is it. Next week I'm going to be adding some more lighting and shader effects to the engine, and perhaps even getting started on some of the gameplay. Also, now that the Soccer One Kickstarter is now officially over, I just wanted to say a final thank you to the 191 people who pledged to the campaign, and I also wanted to give an extra thank you this week to CrazeeRuskee, who recently made a lovely video about Soccer One, and a link to that plus a link to the devlogs that he's making is in the description below. If you want to see more updates about Equilinox during the week, then you can follow me on any of my social media pages. All of the links are in the description below. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching this video. Do subscribe if you haven't already. Have a brilliant week, and I will see you all next time.